Hi. Hey, it's Mom. I really miss you guys. And I wanted to make a little video about kind of how things are going with with things reopening and also the COVID surge. And I wanted to kind of look at the silver lining on what is still a really dark rain cloud. Because I know when I look at the news, I can get really upset. And I did feel really upset when the decisions were made to reopen, especially things like reopening restaurants. I really disagreed with that. I still do. I think the proof was in the pudding that we should still be quarantining. But what I want to talk about is how we personally, you and me, we are better prepared now for the new realities of our lives than we were in March. So, we started quarantining like 3 months ago. And when that happened, nobody was prepared. We couldn't have been prepared. It was something that was so wildly unprecedented that everything really fell apart. The supply chains fell apart. And whatever life you have, like partner, no partner, kids, no kids, working remotely, working in a store, whatever, you had huge challenges to face, really stressful ones, really scary ones. When it started, a lot of the stress was around the unknown. We didn't leave our apartment. I didn't leave our apartment for about a month when it started because we didn't know if going to the trash, to take the trash out, was going to be enough to like catch the coronavirus. We now know that that's very unlikely if you take the proper precautions. If you wear a mask and wash your hands, it's really unlikely that you'll get infected. So, even though the virus is pretty much the same, we are now so much better prepared to make our own personal choices that can keep us and our families safe. We don't live in a bubble. It's not perfect. But even with that knowledge, we are learning we're adapting with it. So, for example, when this started, a lot of the stress for my family was around not knowing about getting resources like food and baby formula and diapers, things that we cannot go without, we have to have. And in the beginning, those things weren't available, and that was terrifying. I remember driving to another county I think it was baby formula. It was something we really had to have, just to go find it. Now, the supply chains have evened out. There are some things that are still a little hard to get. We're not eating red meat because we can't afford it. But, chicken and sausage are available, and eggs and peanut butter. So we're good. And if the reality is that, we don't eat, red meat for 6 months, that's not a big deal. And I'm not worried about it spiraling out, because that's what it was in the beginning. It was this terror of the unknown, because there's no toilet paper and there's no cleaning supplies. What's going to happen next? What else won't there be? But now we're not dipping lower. We can kind of stay here because we're seeing that things aren't really bottoming out in the same way. It's the same way around fear of the virus, I think. In the beginning, it was, okay, this is a really deadly disease. What if it mutates? What if it gets airborne? What if? This is terrifying. And it was legit terrifying. I mean, I had a really hard time handling things. Now it seems, for now, that things are kind of staying on this level, though. They're still terrifying, but they're terrifying in a way that can be mitigated really effectively. If you don't, the virus isn't mutating. Every virus mutates, but this one isn't like becoming progressively more deadly or changing how it's transmitted or anything like that. People are still getting sick, but we know now that like younger people and children are not as likely to contract it. So you're able to like look at the realities. If you are in your 70s, yeah, this is still really, really scary for you. But you don't necessarily have to worry about your grandkids. Your grandkids are probably going to be fine. Where in the beginning, nobody knew anything. So everything was so scary. And it was like, will our pets get it? And the answer is probably no. So instead of worrying about everybody, you can worry about like the things that are real. And I find that much more comforting. I can handle like worrying about real stuff. Worrying about things I don't know about yet, though, that's where it gets really crazy. So, and even with the reality of getting infected, we know now that if you maintain social distancing, you wear a mask, you practice good hygiene, and you stay out of crowded places, the odds are pretty good that you won't get sick. If you go to like a 50-person wedding and you go to a bar or a restaurant or like a beach or whatever, there's a good chance you'll get sick. So that sucks. That sucks. You know, it was like we just ended June, and like not getting to go to the club for Pride Month, like that's my favorite. That sucked. And you know, not getting to see like friends and family and do all these things, like that's very, very real. Those are real things that you can grieve. If you were supposed to like get married during this time or have an important ceremony or anything like that, those are real things that are really hard. But we know now how to mitigate that risk. I don't have to worry that the virus will get in through the air ducts, because that's not realistic. That's not what's happening. I know that there's like a few families that we're friends with who are quarantining the same way we are, and we have self-selected to see those people. We aren't like making out. We're keeping reasonable distances, but we are getting to have like some people back in our lives, and that's really cool. So COVID is still like a shit sandwich. But the good news is that, you know, instead of worrying that that's the only thing we're ever going to have again, it is getting more manageable mentally. I think it's very reasonable that schools may not open in the fall. I think that we're going to have this with us, you know, maybe another year, probably through the winter, honestly. I think that the lack of precautions and quarantine that are happening is going to make it so the virus is not going to end soon. But, you know, we have the knowledge to kind of make the best of it and to do our best to still be able to find ways to have fun and to have a good time during this. And that is really something to be grateful for, because in the beginning that was not the case. So, I hope that you're doing okay. This is really hard, but we are getting through it. And yeah. And I think you're great. And I miss you. And I'll talk to you really soon. Okay, bye.